Hi everybody, welcome to another video. So literally we're just starting off. So you'll see that I'm warming my clear coat up here in a microwave. Now this is not the thing you should do. I'm sure it's totally unsafe, although it's what I do and it works really well. I use about 10 seconds per 100 milliliters to get it up to working temperature. Obviously depends on the ambient temperature, etc. Today the ambient temperature was 20 degrees Celsius, which is about 70 Fahrenheit. So it was actually a reasonably pleasant day to do painting, although I still put some heat into the clear coat. So I still get the clear coat up to about 35 degrees Celsius, which is about 90 Fahrenheit. The two guns we're doing today are the LPH400 with the LVX cap in 1.3 and the Wider4L in 1.3. That's with the J2 cap. Now these two guns are very similar to each other in that they're made for a market that likes low pressure. So both of these are recommended pressure around about 1.1 bar. Now you'll find most of that will be to cover themselves for emission laws. Most people use these things at a higher pressure, which is what I did. I used these at 1.3 bar, which is about 20 psi. So from 16 psi, which is the recommended pressure, to about 20 psi. Now I know some people use these up to about 26 psi, which is about 1.8, 1.9 bar, somewhere around there. So I know people use these at a higher pressure, but I really haven't found a need to use these at that higher pressure. You can get very, very good results with either of these guns using quite low pressure. Don't get mixed up with low pressure and low air consumption, because both of these actually use quite a bit of air. I would guess at this sort of pressure they use about 12.5 CFM of air. I'm not sure what that is in litres, times it by 28 and you should get there. But both of them use quite a bit of air. So don't get confused by low pressure being, low air consumption. One of the byproducts of low pressure normally is low overspray, and I found that the LPH400 actually seemed to have a slightly lower overspray than the Wider4L. Neither of them had much, to be fair, but it did seem to actually give slightly less overspray. These two caps, the LVX cap on the LPH400 is designed to be, as far as I know, a base coat cap for more complex colours. But I know a lot of people use it for clear coat because it is actually very good for clear coat. They make I think it's called the LV4. I say I think because the LPH400 is more or less exclusively sold in the US. I managed to get hold of one, but it's not something you normally get in the UK, which is where I'm based. But the Wider4L you can get in the UK. It's not officially imported. You can buy it in the US as well, but you have to get it in from Japan. Now I use a company called paintingtool.jp. I do buy the guns. I do pay the going rate, although I pay a bit less than on eBay because I actually order them direct. I contact them on Instagram. They send me a PayPal invoice. I pay it and I receive the gun. So I'll give them a mention. I'll put a link in the description as well because they are very good to me. They give me really good service. From the time of dispatch to getting it in the UK is normally about 2 days, which is just as fast as most of the places I can get it in the UK, or if I could get it in the UK. So that's why I mention them. A lot of people ask where you get the guns from, and it just saves people messaging to ask that question. So going back to the caps, the LV4 is, as far as I can understand, recognised as more of a clear coat cap. Now I know that the J2, which is what's on the Wider4L, is the equivalent to the LV4 cap. So I'm not completely comparing like for like, although a lot of people will be able to connect with what I'm trying to do here. I can't get hold of an LV4 cap. One day maybe one will come along and I'll be able to get one to try it, but I'm pretty sure that if I took the center out of the the bezels are different on the outside of the Wider 4 and the LPH, so you can't swap caps because the thread's slightly different. But the centre is the same, so I'm sure if I swap that over, I would be able to know exactly what an LV4 feels like. But I'm sure the Wider 4L with the J2 cap would spray exactly the same as an LPH400 with the LV4 cap. But you know, I can only work with what I've got. But I found that the Wider 4L just seemed to me to perform slightly better. The fan patterns are slightly different as well. Both of them are, you know, are good fan patterns, but the fan pattern was slightly different, and it just felt to me that it performed slightly better. Now, either one produces really good results. When we get to the end, you'll see that they produce really good results. The difference being is that the Wider 4L is a lot cheaper. In the US, I think you'll find that the LPH400s sells for about, I don't know, $550 US, whereas you can get a Wider 4L for probably about $300 US, maybe $350 US. So not half the price, but not far off half the price. So for me, there's a clear winner here, and it's going to be the Wider 4L, because I felt that it did slightly better, but it could just be the fact that I'm not comparing dead like for like with the caps. But certainly, you know, when you take in consideration price point, it's hands down a winner, the Wider 4L. The clear coat we're using here is a 6030, which is a Kapci clear coat. It's designed as a well, I was going to say mid-price. It's probably not even mid-price. It's a relatively cheap clear coat, but it's actually quite a good quality clear coat considering the price point it is. In the UK, you can pick up a kit for about, they've gone up recently, about 110, 150 GB pounds. So that would equate to something like 140 US dollars, 130 euros, something like that. So not expensive by clear coat standards, but it's actually a very good clear coat for what I would call an everyday clear coat. It's certainly one of the best ones I've used. I did a review on clear coats. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. You know, there's 4 different clear coats I use reasonably regularly, and I thought this one was the best value for money wise. I've got a MIPA one as well that I use, which is twice the price, which is definitely a bit better, but it's twice the price, so it's not really comparing like for like. But the hardeners on the Kapci work in a really funny way. So if you get a fast hardener, it's effectively a standard, which is what we used here. But the gloss retention on it is excellent. When you see the outside shots in a minute, that was actually, let me look at my notes, it was actually 4 days later. These are only test panels, so I just do them. I can leave them somewhere and then get them out again. I don't touch them. They're not polished or anything in any way. What you see is exactly what comes off the gun. But for 1.3 bar on either of these, you get a really, really good clear coating gun that doesn't give you loads of overspray. As I say, I would be perfectly happy with either of those, because one is half the price. Then the equation is for me pretty straightforward, really. But both the guns are built to the same standard. The Wider 4L, I'm sure the Wider series and the Kiwami series will eventually take over from the W400 and the LPH400 series. I think Iwata are playing at the moment, because the Kiwami 4, the cheaper version, you just can't, or you can hardly get hold of at the moment. So the production stopped on that, but I think it's only temporary. I don't know. I've no inside information. I don't know, but I think it's only temporary. It must be, because they're still making the WB and the WBX versions and the wider versions as well. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, Wider 4 on the left-hand side, and obviously the LPH on the right-hand side. I think what really comes through here is that using a better, cheaper clear coat can give you really good results. And at 1.3 bar, so 20 psi, you can see that you're getting really, well, relatively good finishes. If you want a slightly flatter finish, which some people will, just bump the pressure up a little. It will use more air, but just bump the pressure up a little, and it will reward you in spades. But yeah, if you've got a compressor for someone in their home or in their garage or something like that, well, not in their home, it's in their house, but you know, in their garage or their workshop or whatever, if you've got a reasonable air supply, they're great, because they don't give you, as I say, loads of overspray, and can produce good finishes at low pressures, as I keep saying. Anyway, guys, I hope as always you enjoyed the video, and you keep watching them and I'll keep them coming. I did actually compare these two together for base coat as well. So I'll put a link in the description. It was actually the same panel, but I thought it was better to split the video up, because base coat and clear coat are obviously different applications. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.